Hey, we really appreciate y'all for tuning in. You already know what time it is.
Welcome to the podcast. We gon' keep on pounding, juke them out his cleats, boy, I'm too fast. Hit the field, know we gon' spaz. CMC gon' run it back. Defense out here going crazy. Super Bowl, we want it bad. Pause up. It's only us. At the top, it's time to rock. No, we won't stop. Open it up, I need that block. I got key with me, cold with me, hurts with me, kill with me. Big cat ain't going nowhere, you gotta deal with me. Carolina.
Hey everybody, Hertz here. Welcome back to the 9 Lives Panthers podcast. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The 9 Lives Panthers podcast premium content is produced every week for your enjoyment, and the show notes are found at the bottom of this video. Come back often and feel free to add our 9 Lives Panthers podcast to your Spotify, your iTunes favorite list. You can also find myself or the rest of the cast on Twitter at 9 Lives Panthers Podcast and Facebook. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get into the show. So in today's show, we're going to be talking about 3 Carolina Panthers players I could see warming the bench in the not too distant future. Also, 5 free agents for the Carolina Panthers that they should consider despite not having a whole lot to choose from. Listen, my Panther ladies and my Panther gents, the trade daddy, aka Scott Fitter, the king of GMs, wasn't lying to us after all. You know what I'm talking about? I know what you guys know what I'm talking about, right? It's okay. If you didn't catch the news, let's take a look.
Good. Any neighbors with any left tackles?
Seriously. I'm going to go knock, during Halloween, I'll go knock on the doors and ask. So, no, unfortunately we haven't found one yet, but we'll see where it goes.
Yep, you heard that right. Look, Panther Nation, as bad as it appeared from the biased networks on us small team folk, the Carolina Panthers have produced far more good than bad during the first 4 games of their 2021 season. Despite falling short at the Dallas Cowboys, Matt Rule's men boast a 3-1 record, and I do have some winnable games over the next few weeks. I mean, we do, not me. I would love to be a part of the Carolina Panthers and get paid that kind of money, you know? Starting this Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles at Bank of America Stadium. How the Panthers picked themselves up after getting knocked down will tell us plenty about the character residing within the locker room. You have to think, judging by the way some players were speaking after the loss, the mindset remains the focus on the task at hand. Super Bowl, Super Bowl. Let's face it, my Panther peeps, Carolina was always going to come up to some adversity at some point in the season. It just seems like our DNA. But things might not be as rosy as one suspects if certain individuals and positional groups don't start pulling their weight. The Panthers have shown willingness to make substantial changes and roster tweaks to boost the team's chances. The trade deadline is obviously looming too. Another potential factor that cannot be overlooked is how active general manager Scott Fitter has been since arriving from the Seattle Seahawks. With that being said, I see a couple roster members that could be nervously looking over their shoulders regarding their current status. You know, one bump in the road doesn't normally come with drastic change, but that won't be the case for much longer if the weaknesses continue to be the weakest links. With this in mind, here are 3 Panthers players who could be demoted down the depth chart if performances don't improve. Cam Irving. I'm going to pick on this guy first. Carolina Panthers left tackle. This could happen soon. Cam Irving has been a constant weak link for the Panthers on a suspect offensive line. If Sunday's game was his final audition, then it's not one where he struggled to impress. I mean, it is one that he struggled to impress. Irving's situation is incredibly frustrating. What's frustrating is the former first-round pick has all the size and physical attributes needed to make a real go of things, but it just hasn't come together as the Panthers or as Cam Irving would have hoped. It's worth remembering Irving's production since being selected by the Cleveland Browns. which wasn't stellar at all, actually. So expecting him to perform at an all-pro level was unrealistic and something nobody predicted. What comes next for Irving is truly unclear. The Panthers gave him a 2-year deal and don't have much in the way of viable alternatives. So they could be stuck with the Florida State product unless reinforcements aren't brought in. We are now 1 month into the campaign, and if Irving isn't up to the task, then one has to question why the Panthers brought him into the organization in the first place. Do you think cutting Irving loose in 2022 would cost the Panthers? Not a whole lot. According to NFL.com, Cam's release would only be $2.5 million in dead cap money if they do it after June 1st, which would save around $4 million to better spend elsewhere. Ian Thomas, Carolina Panthers tight end. Whew, man, oh man. Although the Carolina Panthers traded Dan Arnold to the Jacksonville Jaguars as part of the C.J. Henderson move, it might not be the biggest vote of confidence in Ian Thomas. The former fourth-round selection had his chance to become Greg Olsen's successor in 2020 and failed to deliver. So it might not be much longer before Tommy Tremble is installed as tight end 1. What I love about Tommy Tremble is his physicality, his athleticism, that could be the total package with a little bit more refinement on our passing game. Carolina clearly has big plans for the Notre Dame product, so throwing him in at the deep end might be a risk worth taking now that Arnold is no longer part of the equation. I still think there's still a role to play for Thomas this season, though. He might be a non-factor in the passing game for whatever reason, but his blocking has made some encouraging strides, and the Panthers need all the help they can get in this area of the field, given all the hits our quarterback Sam Darnold has been taking. It's embarrassing. Thomas is out of contract next spring, and whether he comes back or not is yet to be determined. I can tell you, though, one thing, though, guys. Carolina hasn't given up on that player just yet. But Tremble is clearly being earmarked for a bigger role in the very, very, very near future. The third and final player that's paranoid as a person that just saw a ghost is John Miller, Carolina Panthers offensive guard. As the Hurt stated previously, the Carolina Panthers need to make some adjustments to the offensive line in pursuit of maintaining a largely encouraging start to the 2021 season. If things continue in this manner, even get worse, guys, then it's going to come with some complications for the team and quarterback Sam Darnold. John Miller might not be the worst performer in the world, but if the Panthers want to reach the next level in a potential playoff place, then things have to get better. The veteran offensive guard was brought back on a team-friendly deal after a 2020 season with bright spots and inconsistencies in equal measure. As we all may or may not know, continuity is everything as far as an offensive line is concerned. So someone like Deonte Brown needs to show a little bit more significant amount at practice for the team to contemplate a switch at John Miller's roster spot. Miller missed the first game due to COVID-19 and has been playing through the shoulder issues, something that cannot be overlooked by when we analyze John Miller's production so far. The Panthers are surely going to make improving their offensive line options their top priority offseason. Until then, players like Miller could get the benefit of the doubt. What do you guys think of Stephon Miller? I mean, let's switch up the monotony here. What do you guys think of the Stephon Gilmore pickup? Pretty incredible, huh? What a savvy pickup by the trade daddy. He's really going to add so much in that backfield for a very young, ferocious secondary. Listen, guys, if the trade daddy didn't take care of business and acquire Gilmore, he would have had a lot of videos going viral from the 9 Lives Panther podcast and Keep Pounding TV. He'd be running for his life from the black and blue. This leads me to my 5 more moves the Carolina Panthers should consider bringing in. If you'll take a look at your screen, you'll see the current free agents available. You guys noticed the same thing, right? I'm sure the trade daddy wasn't impressed either. If you take a closer look, though, there are 5 players that could be potential pickups to help us this year until we can have all our offensive linemen 2022 NFL draft. The first player to keep an eye on is Mitchell Schwartz, offensive tackle. See, pass protection is something the Carolina Panthers need to do more effectively if they want to remain on track. I mean, Sam Darnold was running for his life constantly as the pocket collapsed around him at the Cowboys. So if Carolina's insistent on not throwing the likes of Brady Christensen and Deonte Brown into the mix, then acquiring a veteran wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Whether Mitchell Schwartz is ready to resume playing after undergoing back surgery is unknown. But I do know one thing, though. It wouldn't hurt the Panthers to put in a call regardless. Schwartz, who is a Super Bowl winner from his time with the Kansas City Chiefs, was contemplating retirement at one stage right after his back injury. I mean, can you imagine breaking your back? Of course. Much will also depend on how the player's recovery is going. But if the desire is there, the California product could definitely assist. Panther Nation, my second free agent pickup could be Russell Okung. That's right, you heard me. The former Carolina Panthers left. How much Bitcoin would it take for Russell Okung to come out of semi-retirement and back to the Carolina Panthers? The offensive tackle wasn't extended this spring after an injury-hit season with the franchise. But there was absolutely nothing wrong with the Pro Bowler from a performance standpoint over his 7 games on the field. I mean, Okung seems to be enjoying himself away from the gridiron. He's earned a ton of money throughout his career, and he probably needs some convincing to give up his current luxury for the daily grind of practice and games in 2021. There appears little doubt that Okung would be a big-time upgrade on Cam Irving. Wouldn't you guys think? I mean, who has been exactly as advertised through the first 4 games? The former first-round pick just doesn't look comfortable on the outside, which is something that isn't going unnoticed by opposing defenses. Having a liability at one of the most important positions on the field isn't going to bring much joy to Carolina's way. Asking Okung to come back could give them experience, better production, although keeping the veteran healthy is probably the biggest stumbling block with him. Regardless of what it is, something needs to be done. The Dallas Cowboys laid the blueprint of how to beat the Panthers, and it's now up to those in power to come up with some adjustments as a result. Which leads me to my third free agent target. Kawann Short, former Carolina Panthers defensive tackle. Another former member of the Carolina Panthers. Anyone? Yes, you heard the Hurt say it. The defensive front enjoyed a fantastic start to the 2021 season, albeit against inferior opposition. However, some flaws were exposed at the Dallas Cowboys that could leave the front office wondering if the right personnel is in place. The run defense was a problem last season at times, so the Panthers can ill afford this, becoming something more than a 1-game demolition by Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Gosh, it's hard to say. Who are both running behind a dominant offensive line. Kawann Short's presence in the free agent market is intriguing. I mean, you guys have to admit, Carolina released the Pro Bowler this spring with 1 year remaining on his deal after 2 injury-plagued seasons that saw him turn out just 5 times during this span. Short is still getting paid just over $11 million from the Panthers this season, which is a tidy sum by anybody's standards. But having him as part of a rotation that includes Bravion Roy, Davion Nixon behind the starting duo is something to consider. The former second-round pick also has experience as a 3-4 defensive end, a scheme which defensive coordinator Phil Snow has deployed a lot over the first 4 contests. Much would depend on whether Short wants to play or is willing to wait for a chance on a contender. But then again, we are contenders, right? That's like a no-brainer. Hello. But there are benefits that are providing he's able to stay healthy, of course. The fourth possible Panthers pause-up pickup could be, and I feel we should get Oliver Vernon, outside linebacker. The Carolina Panthers and us Panther fans are nervously awaiting Shaq Thompson's return, who's reportedly set for a 2 to 3 week spell on the sidelines, according to Joseph Person of The Athletic. This would be a substantial blow considering how well the outside linebacker has performed this season, especially when one examines the lack of depth currently at the second level. Gosh, it makes me sweat thinking about it. It can definitely hurt some Panther prides out there. Carolina called up Kamal Martin from the active roster at the expense of offensive lineman Michael Jordan, who was waived, then later re-signed to the practice squad. If the news on Thompson isn't the greatest, then someone like Oliver Vernon might be worth signing on a short-term deal, guys. Vernon is still looking for a new home after tearing his Achilles during the Cleveland Browns' final game of the 2020 season. He is reportedly fit and ready to go, even if it hasn't come with a concrete offer from anyone just yet, even if he hasn't come up with a concrete offer from anyone else. The interesting thing is that the former third-round pick out of Miami gained 9 sacks last season, guys, and has 1 Pro Bowl selection to his name. Vernon can also more than hold his own against the run, which the Panthers need should Thompson miss multiple weeks, as we are pretty much already thinking. This would be a shrewd trade daddy could pick up by the Panthers. Vernon's power and explosiveness should fit into Phil Snow's scheme well, and bringing him to the organization would ensure no momentum is lost in the wake of Thompson's injury. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to my final trade daddy, free agent victim, Panthers fans. The Mooresville, North Carolina, hometown kid, J.R. Sweezy, the offensive guard. It's no secret the Carolina Panthers are having trouble in passing protection, especially from the interior of our offensive line. John Miller and Matt Paradis have been subpar at best in this category. Although Dennis Daly's production over the last 2 weeks leaves reason to be encouraged. As the Hurt stated to Panther Nation previously, the Panthers don't seem too keen on implementing the 2 rookies into the lineup for whatever reason. Maybe they just aren't developing as Carolina had hoped in a short space of time. Considering the team demoted offensive lineman Michael Jordan to practice squad this week, their options are getting increasingly thin if Miller doesn't improve in the coming weeks. One player of intrigue on the free agent market that could provide immediate assistance is J.R. Sweezy, who didn't do enough to make the New Orleans Saints roster despite an encouraging training camp. Sweezy is no stranger to general manager Scott Fitterer, guys, who was director of college scouting at the Seattle Seahawks when the interior lineman was selected in the 7th round of the 2012 NFL draft. This proved to be yet another draft steal that Fitterer was highly influential in selecting. Sweezy is a Super Bowl winner who's racked up 117 career games, 104 of which he started. I mean, what do you guys think? Leave your comments and thoughts below. The guys here at 9 Lives Panthers podcast would love to hear from you guys. Well, until next time, never let your Panther pride sway and keep pounding.
Hey, we really appreciate y'all for tuning in. You already know what time it is.
9 Lives. Welcome to the podcast. We gon' keep on pounding, juke them out his cleats, boy, I'm too fast. Hit the field, know we gon' spaz. CMC gon' run it back. Defense out here going crazy. Super Bowl, we want it bad. Pause up. It's only us at the top. It's time to rock, no, we won't stop. Open it up, I need that block. I got key with me, cold with me, hurts with me, kill with me. Big cat ain't going nowhere, you gotta deal with me. Carolina, 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 Carolina.